dumb call.
Let's go to Phil Mo Mike.
Didn't expect that.
Phil Mo, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm chilling, man. I'm still bothered by. I don't know if y'all heard who yesterday. He was talking about colored people. I don't know where that came up, but then y'all start talking about Trump. So let me just get to my point.
Wait, who was saying that yesterday?
Trump. Steiny and Guru. I forgot what the conversation was, but they start talking about color. He was like, Guru's like, yeah, because I'm colored. I'm like, come on, Guru, you gonna call us colored? You gotta do better than that.
As long as he's talking about himself, he can say whatever he wants. But I feel you, Phil Mo. Go ahead.
That's true. Nah, I just want to say this, man. Steiny, I don't even mean to bring up anything that anybody else said from any other show, but he had a point about they got to get this figured out with the training camps and all that. But really, it boils back to this: stop jocking quarterbacks. If the quarterback is Michael Jordan, let him be Michael Jordan, Patrick Mahomes. But if the quarterback is just an average whoever, don't act like the quarterback is the end-all, be-all to Major League, NFL football, man. Like, we judging quarterbacks. So, like, I swear he has a point. Shannon has a point. Why are we paying these quarterbacks? Are you this type of quarterback? What type of quarterback are you? It's almost a mixture of the market and your ability and who's available. So, like, all that extra stuff, they need to figure that out. Well, I don't know how they going to do it.
Okay, but Phil Mo, do you not agree that the quarterback is the straw that stirs the drink? Let's start there. Do you agree or disagree?
Not with every team, not with every situation.
Okay, and your opinion is fair what it is. Then I would argue what you're leaning toward, and you could sell me on this, if this gets to a certain point where the quarterback is taking up 40 to 50% of a team's cap. I don't think we'll necessarily get there. But do you just want to draft a new one every 4 years? You can do that.
No, I don't want to do that. But what I am saying is that quarterbacks are given more value than what they should be given. Meanwhile, Brandon Aiyuk is expected to play on some type of $14 million deal when obviously he's worth more than $14 million.
Yeah, but Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy's playing for $900,000 this year, Phil Mo. Like, they're both on rookie deals.
Right, but he got 2 years left and he only got one, and we all know that gameplay.
I know. I'm just saying. Yeah. Brandon has already made more in 4 years. I mean, my God, Brock Purdy. You know, Brandon's made $12 million in 4 years. Brock Purdy has not yet gotten to 3.
That's true. I mean, only thing I can say to that is, man, you got to pay people for what they're worth. Remember when the rookies was getting so much amount of money and they hadn't even played?
Yep.
It's sort of like the same thing with the quarterbacks. You could project a certain bit, but you got to look at the resume and understand. It's crazy because they all go back to the market. If it's only 5 good quarterbacks, you got to judge the rest of the 25, 27 other quarterbacks based on the 5 good ones. And if he's the 6th best quarterback, guess what? He's the 6th best quarterback. No matter what the other 24 quarterbacks have done, or you know what I'm saying? It's kind of messed up, man. For real.
It is, but then you can also look at a team that has like the 12th best quarterback or the 14th best quarterback, like the Giants with Daniel Jones, and they realize that either they pay him $40 million a year or they go out and try to find somebody better, or the Cowboys with Dak Prescott, or so many other examples where you don't have one of those elite guys and you figure out either we roll a dice and try to find somebody to replace him, or we overpay Kyler Murray and we hope that he can grow into being one of those top 5 guys.
No doubt. Teams get stuck in this. It's like, all right, you can't have Mahomes, you can't have Burrow. Then what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to just dump your guy every 4 years and try again?
And hope you get it right.
Even though there are viable players. And Brock Purdy is one of them. There are viable other quarterbacks who show or have shown that they can get it done in January in the NFL. Like
Jared Goff is a great example.
There's another example.
He's probably the between 8th and 13th best quarterback in the league.
That's fair.
And yet he's making top 5 money 52. Because he's a guy who has shown that he can get it done in the right situation.
Yeah, and Jordan Love, I'd argue, has not really totally shown that. I know he won a playoff game in Dallas, but he was, you could say, I guess, the better quarterback for the majority of the game against the 49ers. He wasn't in the fourth quarter. He threw 2 interceptions. So, like what Filmo's saying, I totally feel it. I can't say I fully agree with it. I feel it. But let me ask you this, okay? Since we're talking so much about wide receivers, what makes more sense to you? What contributes to winning? What is a better buy? If I could argue that you will get top performance for your dollar, so forget the names or faces, but top performance for your dollar, would you rather spend $55 million on a top-level quarterback or $35 million on a top-level wide receiver?
It's quarterback, and it's not close.
I agree with you totally.
Because of the value over replacement player, VORP, which is a baseball stat, but it really fits, I think, for all sports, because if you're going to try to replace your quarterback, Brock Purdy, a guy who's top 5 in the MVP, 4-2 all-time in the playoffs, and really 4-1 if you want to look at his loss against Philadelphia. However you want to parse that out, he's a young quarterback who's done amazing things on a rookie deal, and he's going to get $55 million, but he's a real good quarterback. So, all right, you decide that, you know what, Brock, we're not going to pay you because we like this whole thing about a rookie deal. We're going to go out and draft another quarterback next year and try to find another rookie who can come in and do what you do. That is a lot riskier than,
oh, God.
All right, Brandon Aiyuk, I know you want $28 million or whatever you want, and we don't want to pay you. We're going to draft Ricky Pearsall, and maybe Pearsall's not going to be you right away, but he'll be a much better facsimile of you than what we could do at quarterback.
And Pearsall doesn't have to shoulder that all by himself. There are other receivers in camp. They drafted another receiver. They've got another draft next year where they can address wide receiver if they so choose. They've got time to see what Ricky Pearsall can do out there. Is he indeed the replacement? You can go the free agency route and find a receiver who is cheaper than Brandon Aiyuk if you want. You can use the franchise tag and replace Brandon Aiyuk with Brandon Aiyuk if you want. Like, there's all kinds of ways that you can play this if you're 49ers, rather than just being like, okay, we'll give you 30 because we think you're good. And
the market says you deserve 30.
Yeah.
That's really the thing.
It's a bummer, but it's the way that the NFL team is going to play it every time. 888-957-9570. We'll keep taking your phone calls. Herm Edwards is going to join us in 10 minutes. We want to start this one now, though, because Aqib Talib is an hour away. But listen to this, okay? And listen very closely. Aqib is talking to Kay Adams, but listen for all the different things that sort of unfold in what is a 28-second piece of sound. This conversation, he starts by trying to say that he thinks Brandon Aiyuk is fantastic. But listen to everything, and then we'll talk it out.
Aiyuk is emerging. I think he's probably my top 3 receivers right now. If you get him with a real quarterback, he can go crazy.
Brandon Aiyuk is your as a top 3 receiver?
Man, I don't really go off the stats. I go off the player. And his body control, his routes, his hands, his speed, he can easily be a top receiver in the league. If you put him on a team and you make him the focal guy, he'll go crazy.
Okay.
Wow.
Aqib Talib in an hour. What jumps out to you?
A number of things.
Yes, go ahead.
A lot of could-bes, but then the one that I took away, and I think I texted this as I was on my way into work, if you put him with a top quarterback, ... And he says that. And
is that the word he used? Did he say top quarterback?
Or a good quarterback?
No, I'm literally
good or top?
I'm asking. Here, let's play it again.
Aiyuk is emerging. I think he's probably my top 3 receivers right now. If you get him with a real quarterback, he can go crazy.
Real quarterback. Okay.
You put him with a real quarterback. Is he not with a real quarterback?
Yeah, what does that mean? I mean, that's going to be question number 1 or 2 or whatever when Aqib comes on. What did you mean by that?
And I also think that...
And that's a great question.
Yeah, thank you, Buster. And I do think that it's real quarterback, but it's also real offense. And I think, and I'm not going to speak for Aqib, and he'll join us at 5 o'clock, but for me, it's not so much Brock Purdy as it is the offense because they don't throw the ball. They throw it the 32nd most in football. So if you get him with a real quarterback, and I'm hearing him say that, and I'm thinking about him thinking about it in terms of a real offense, an offense that goes 3 wide receivers and an offense that really wants to let it fly and use Aiyuk as much as Brandon Aiyuk could be used.
Okay. A real quarterback or a real offense. The 49ers scored the second most points in the league in the NFL last year. So,
by running the ball mostly.
But that doesn't mean it's not a real offense.
But it doesn't mean that it's a real quarterback with a real passing attack.
Well, but I'd argue it does. If the whole point is to score points, then the 49ers did that as well as anybody in the whole NFL. So are you arguing that Brandon's only a top 3 receiver if he plays on one of these sort of wacky fantasy teams? In other words, you could do this. You could go be, even though, let's see, what did the Dolphins score last year? The Dolphins scored 496. The Niners scored 491. Okay. So what would Brandon be if he was on the Dolphins? I mean, home after round 1. We could answer it that way.
He'd be their third receiver.
Well,
he'd be fighting for crumbs. And, I look at CeeDee Lamb.
What are we getting at there when we do that? Brandon doesn't put up numbers because he's, Kyle's offense.
Exactly. That's a fact.
Great offense.
Right, but as I mentioned yesterday,
offense.
75, 67, 65, and 60, that's the catches for the 4 primary receivers.
Right.
So they share the ball. There's no one dominant receiver. It's Brandon and George, it's Debo, and it's Christian.
But that's a strength. That's not a weakness.
It's a strength for the team, but it's a weakness for the individual who's out there trying to get the contract and be a top 3 receiver.
So are we arguing, therefore, is Aqib Talib arguing that we should, if I'm Brandon Aiyuk, I should be more interested in playing fantasy football than football?
If fantasy football gives you the money you want, and if it gives you the happiness you want, and according to TJ Hushmanzada, Brandon wants to play and he wants to be paid, and he also wants to win.
Sure.
And so if you want to win, this is the best place to go out and be a winner, I think, in football.
Well, and not just win. I mean, TJ, and I know this, and he did say that. I mean, he would argue until the day is over that Brandon Aiyuk wants to continue to play with both Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy.
Of course.
TJ Hushmanzada.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you want to stay? Team is going to be good for years to come. Shanahan is one of the best coaches in the league. Why wouldn't he want to stay? But I want to get paid also. I don't want to take a discount. The game of football, it seems like you're going to play it forever, but you're not. I mean, these owners are making billions. I just want enough money to where I can take care of my family for generations to come. And his play has warranted that. But 100%, he would prefer to stay with the 49ers over anyone else.
The other thing I heard Aqib Talib say, though, is he starts out with his top 3, and then it sort of switches to a projection.
Right. He could be.
Right? When Kay questions him, wait a minute, Aiyuk is top 3, he sort of switches from he's top 3 to, well, mythically he could be top 3 if this and if that and if the other.
Aiyuk is emerging. I think he's probably my top 3 receivers right now. If you get him with a real quarterback, he can go crazy.
Brandon Aiyuk is your as a top 3 receiver?
Man, I don't really go off the stats. I go off the player and his body control, his routes, his hands, his speed. He can easily be a top receiver in the league. If you put him on a team and you make him the focal guy, he'll go crazy.
So he turns into you can be. Because I'm sitting here
and
listening.
He's not wrong.
Well, but he's talking
not wrong.
Body control and this, that. And I'm like, okay, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase.
I'm on Ross St. Brown.
Are you telling me that Brandon Aiyuk is even potentially better?
No, but could he be
some of these players?
Could he be CeeDee Lamb in Dallas? Could he be 130 catches in Dallas as a primary receiver?
Maybe.
I think so. And I think that's what Aqib is saying.
Okay.
He's saying, in the right system with a real quarterback.
Plus, then you get a longer offseason, so that's good too.
That's great. And, ultimately, if you're going into a contract year like CeeDee Lamb is, CeeDee Lamb's going to get a contract that's going to make Brandon Aiyuk jealous.
Yeah, I'm sure. Same draft. Absolutely.